Good evening. It is Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, and looking at the ES trading plans for today from this morning. Let's see how things worked out. I will pull this in here. So if you watched the first video, we opened in range and value towards the lower end, and a couple of them dealt with possibility for an 8% rule, but three of them dealt with moving towards Monday's Mondays. I think I meant to say, rotating or balancing above Monday's prior high of day with a run towards yesterday's high and maybe continuation at some point. So let's just talk about the things that happened first. So my cursor disappears when I hover it over here, so forgive me, it takes me a second there to kind of pull it back in. I'm going to look at this in ones at first and probably pull a 10-minute in. We had a neutral day today. We traded on both sides of the initial balance, ended up back inside the initial balance, so no real net influence from maybe longer time frames in all likelihood. So you can see here, now this pink bar, red bar, whatever, is opening range time of 3 minutes. So a little longer than a lot of people's opening range. And you can see we opened, and I published the video sometime I think after 9:33, maybe 9:35, maybe even a minute or two later than that. But and anyway, we had opened and came down about 2.5 points to the bottom of this area here towards the value area low. So we didn't come outside the value area low. However, coming back in, I talked about this in the video that we have the potential for the 80% rule, the upside, if you are going to count, and we did have news at 8:30, so likelihood there was some volume and some players involved coming into the open. Are we going to open back inside of value from Tuesday and hold? Well, initially, that is what happened. And I mentioned, I believe in the video, it would have been hard to kind of get long down here unless you got in a couple ticks over it. Ideally, you want to get as close to the value area low as possible, but I probably would have missed this, but I wasn't trading it. This is a day we open in range in value. We had news at 8:30, and so when you get the open, you get a new flush of orders hitting and dealing with that news as it's digested. I wasn't in a big hurry, and unfortunately, that changed. I kind of got in a hurry, and later on, I was going to quit, and I thought, no, one more trade, and I got myself. I kind of shot myself in the foot, but hey, this is a practice. It's not every day. It's subjective, All right, so we broke out of here, the opening range, the swing high in the overnight. It continued up in a period, didn't quite get to the settle, traded all the way back down. So one of the ideas was to get on board, move towards value area high. Open in range value, possibility of the 80% rule. I would say that the 80% rule was at that point, at that juncture, was clearly in my book. Okay, I count some of the, I do count some of the time depending on the day coming into the open. So it would have been valid in my book. It never got there, but it's you had some momentum to the upside once it started trucking up there, and you're looking to get on board to the upside. Well, that was good if you did that. I didn't really do that. I don't think I took any trades then, but then it reversed all the way back down. Actually, I think maybe I did. I don't remember. I think I mentioned this the last video I made of a recap. It's it's hard to recall at the end of the day all the little trades. So come back down through the value area low, through the overnight low. It didn't get down to. It did get back into Monday's range, but one of the ideas was, so I would give this, by the way, let's back up here. Let's see. Use this. This was, this had some potential, but we didn't get the 80% rule. There was some momentum to the upside, but we had a couple, let's just scratch this one because we had a few ideas that really captured this idea of opening in range and value and rotating and balancing above the prior day's high. Then we had another situation about re-entering the range of Tuesday's back, Monday's range, and that played out. But let's talk about this first. So the next one was to open in range of value, traverse the value area, rotate back towards value area low, which is what it did. So, oh no, I'm sorry. Actually, no. This was, when I was talking about, this was if we went across to the upside and then we rotated all the way back down. Well, it didn't get all the way up to the upside, okay? But I also said watch for a prairie dog of the overnight low, value area low. And basically, that was a really great trade, and I know I did take advantage of this. So what that means is that we came outside of the, actually, I have my markings on this chart here. So if we come down here, and you see the overnight low is this light blue line. Let me, okay, when on Sierra chart, whenever you click on the profile, it puts this line around it, and sometimes it kind of adds to the clutter. And to me, this chart is not cluttered. Believe me, it's a lot busier than a lot of charts have in the past been, because we're in an area where I've gone way back to pull up some references and things, and it does add a little bit of noise to it. But yeah, it's like looking at a map that's in the back seat of your car or your glove compartment. You open it up, and I don't know how old you are, but maybe this is old school to some people. But you know, a map of the country or a state, an atlas, you're going to have like all kinds of different colors, different widths of lines. No different. You just know what you're looking for, and you don't look at the whole thing at once. You look at where you are. So anyway, we come outside right here by 1 point, comes back in to the overnight range, and let's look here real quick at see how it tapered off here. 9 contracts, 122, 434, and it was also very anemic. Now this doesn't mean that means it kind of moved through here fast. So it doesn't mean it's not going. And remember, it came down here and came back through again. So some of this volume is on the upside. It doesn't mean that it isn't going to keep going. But you know, you take your shot and you maybe risk the low, or maybe you risk yesterday's low, or maybe you risk the value area high of it just depends on what your idea is of how much is that trade worth to take a shot at it. Let me erase this. Okay. So that came back in. Now I don't remember how far that it went back in a period, or exactly at what time that happened. Now if I pull in the 10-minute, that might give us a little more detail. But you can see that B period opened up here right on the value area low. I recall it's stuck here a while, it seems like. But ultimately, this trucked on up, got a little more traction. You know what? Okay, no, I'm sorry. I was going to say, you know, we didn't come too far off of the value area high, but I guess there are going to be those who technically say we got to make it to the tick. Okay, you know, this covered more than 80% of the 80% rule. So whatever. I mean, the idea, you know, again, you got to be a little nebulous and abstract and theoretical to sort. I mean, things are not exact, you know. So many times it's exact, it's right to the tick. But yeah, I'd say that worked pretty good. So the only thing is that technically, and again, I don't subscribe to this as much anymore. Like you open inside and you don't come back outside of the value area, because you get a lot of overlap, a lot of noise around it's an area, you know. So I don't know. I think that worked out pretty good, actually. Now that I look at it, I really wasn't seeing, but that was worth a lot. Okay, to get back in. Let's actually take a look. Now, believe me, this would have taken a while to hold on to it. Well, I guess half an hour or more. But let's take a look here, what that might have been worth. So let's say you got in above the overnight value area low. Let's put our stop down here just to keep it out of the way. And got in here, and you took it. Now, you wasn't going right away because B opened right here. But let's say you did take it all the way up. Now, a lot of times I will say, oh, let's say you took it off at this inflection point or this inflection point. But just for fun, let's see how much this would have been worth if you had taken it all the way up to the pivot point. I guess I am cutting it short again. But at this point, you might be believing it's going to value very high. However, I would think there's just a lot of, there's a lot of crossroads in here. It's probably going to feel like it's getting jammed up and it's going to reverse on you any second. But let's just go to the settlement. Just the settlement. So the settlement target, 118 ticks. How much is that in points? I don't feel like doing math at this time of day when it's an odd number. 29.5 points. How about that? That's a nice trade. Now, C period, and this is where I screwed up because I was really ready to go by the end of B period, the opening of C period. I was on a phone call. I got out the call. I should have closed my charts. I kind of got out of rhythm. I saw this poor high up here. I got long somewhere in here, and it just, I don't know if it was some kind of selling regime, was some kind of, you know, big money computer system, just the way it was just grinding down and grinding. And, you know, I got crushed. It was a big give back for me, that trade. And yeah, well, you win some, you lose some. You just got to keep on trucking. So the other thing is, all right, let's move back into stories. Keep on task here. So this worked great. All right, we need our green pen, right? Let's erase this little thing here. Da-da-da. All right, custom pen. This worked great. 29 points. We'll cut off the half. We'll just round. We should have rounded up to 30, I guess. 29 points, right? Even if you just took a bite of that, wow. How about that? I can say I didn't. There was so much. There's just so much chop. You know, it's just when you're in range and value, it's just choppy. And I just, unless I'm catching a short covering rally or I somehow manage to get on board on a long liquidation break, I am not one who rides this trade like my plan would suggest, and when I look and review what was there to take. I just don't do it. It just, you know, I don't like set it, forget it, and leave. I'm not one who likes to move my stop to break even plus a tick or two, because I end up in this trade that takes a long time and I end up with a tick or two, you know, and I'd rather just take I'd rather take more entries and take like segments out of it, you know, and maybe I'll change over time, but you know, I don't like to risk 10 points on a trade. I don't like to risk even 5 necessarily. That's big. I mean, that adds up very quickly if you're not on it. If you're not on your game, you know. All right, and then let's move on to this. All right, rotate balance Monday's prior high day. We did that. Run for yesterday's high and continuation at some point. Okay, well, this sort of blends into this one, okay, and this one. This whole rotating and being, you know, staying above the prior high of day. Get long and short against inflection points. Well, I could have a heyday in here just saying, okay, because now I didn't get short. I lost my smarts at this point, okay? But look at all these inflection points. And you have inflection points that you might say, well, I don't have some of these on my chart. But you've got intraday value high and low, VPOCs of today. I mean, even today has plenty of inflection points. Last night has inflection points, all these things. So we had a poor high, and, you know, it came off pretty good once it came down through here, through the pivot point. You know, my idea was, well, we're going to continue because we have the idea of the 80% deal going on. We had a poor high, and you know what? And I didn't think of this till just now. I'm going to show you something a little close up. I don't have any stats on this, just my own experience. Okay, let's get back down here. I do not like poor highs that look like this. What do I mean by that? I'll take a poor high that C period comes one tick under B period, or that C period is even with B period, but I don't like when they're like this. I should have known. I didn't even think about that. I wish I would have thought about that. I would have managed that trade a lot better. And just, I mean, if you're not new to profile and things like this, important safety tip, that's, in this case, for me, it was a killer, but that is a data point. Okay, so what happened? Came up here, and there wasn't like stop fuel to like continue this, or shorts to cover, like once it got past the initial balance, all of a sudden you get a pop or explosion. It was a failed breakout, really. That's what it is, a failed breakout. And the initial balance is just that. It's a balance. It's also called a pioneering range, by the way. You can have that for free. But we fall back into balance, and what happens? You go to the other side of balance. And what happened? Came all the way back down, and D comes down a little further, then E. Oh, look what happens. We're coming to the other side of balance. Sure enough, we made it. And I did not get the memo that earlier in the day. It's just catching up with me now that I'm looking at this with a little, you know, I've cleared my mind. And, geez. Well, anyway, so the other idea, okay. So, by the way, this I don't know. I'm not going to go through and say all the places you could have gotten short. Well, you know what? Yes, I can, and I will, but I'm going to come back to it. But this worked, okay? But this also did too. Re-enter range 2 days back, develop value, 80% rule to the short side maybe. I talked about this 20-day simple moving average and where it was at the time, and the VPOC was right in the middle of the value area. I mentioned that the value area from Monday was really not that wide. It was like 11.75 points wide or something like that. So the idea was to enter Monday's range, find acceptance, and get short against the prior high day or other inflection points. And I think I mentioned even higher up against the overnight low, overnight value area low, just different things you could have. If you've got a retracement, you might want to get short against that. And there's other ways to you don't have to trade against an inflection point all the time. There's other things, other reasons, order flow, this and that, looking at the book. But hopefully take some off at the VPOC, or buy that, reverse, buy the bounce and sell it again, and all the way to the value area low. Let's look at it. Let's look at this. So we come down. Now we're one time framing down, right? One time framing down. We take out the morning low, and now Now when this happened, you could have shorted it into. Hang on a minute. I got to make this. I got to bring it back so we can see it again. Wait a minute. Wow, I didn't realize I have to. Okay, I see why. Let me put this back to column. Okay. So, still got to squeeze it. Sorry about that. All right, this is Monday's range. All right. So when we come through right here, we made a poor low and broke it, right? And it dropped like it's hot right through into the value area. Now, incidentally, the high of this green area is the value area high from Monday. The low of the value area high from Monday is right down here, okay? I'll make it white because all my value area lines are white. Anyway, here, I'll go ahead and put that on here. Just make it easier to talk about it. Come on. Okay, right here. This is your value area from Monday. Notice how we came in right to the VPOC. I wasn't around for this, okay? I was gone by now. I didn't look back here till after 2 p.m. Eastern time. How about that? Right to the VPOC. It bounced all the way up here, at least to here. Opened in H, came up to the value area high, went a tick or two outside of it. Once again, you're going to be real exact and say, well, it went outside, so the 80% rule is not going to work. No, okay? One way to look at it, by the way, is the fact that we came outside the value area high. It couldn't get back above the prior high day, not even to the tick. It didn't get to it, and we left. We had a new distribution. Let me show you what I mean. Well, it's very easy to see. I was going to split it off and show the volume. Maybe I should. I should show the volume down here. If I split it off right here, okay, see how we develop volume down here? We've got a new distribution. The last time you had volume like that was way up here inside Tuesday's range. Now we develop volume down here. Now, how much of it happened in G period? It took a while to get down there, I would imagine, and so I'm not confident we're going to see a ton down there, but maybe so. Let's see. Okay, it did start to develop a nice little distribution here. In fact, H was kind of anemic. But let's pull it together. So when we opened up in H, you've got this sort of, this volume, and it's worth a shot. Okay, we're going to keep a double distribution. Are we going to get back against the... And again, this might have been a place, like if it did come all the way up here, possibly... Now you have a weak low in G. If it's on this thing, it's a weak low, okay? So now you want to short against the early morning low, right? That's what I meant by you get short against the overnight value area, overnight low, that kind of thing, if it came up there, but it didn't. And that was also a data point. So let's move this back together. All the way down, and shazam, 80% rule of the downside complete. Okay, now what happens? We got a chance to rotate back up. with the 80% rule to the upside. All right, so this is where I wish I stayed here all day and just very patiently waited for my plans to fulfill. And I've got to get back to that. I don't do that anymore. I just don't like being in front of the computer 8 hours a day. And I'm just likely to get bored and do stuff I don't want to do. And that really comes down to self-discipline and patience, and that's something I need to work on for sure all the time. It's just patience is something that we, in all our lives, even if you're not a trader, you'd have to exercise it, right? You have to exercise it. So I just need some more exercise and really trying to, and that's why I'm doing the videos, because I need to believe in myself and these plans. I gotta tell you, I don't mind saying so. Sometimes they impress me. I'm like, wow, you know, why did I know to say that? Why did I know to think this might happen? It just comes from years of experience, I guess, and I need to have more confidence in it because that's worth something, man. So we come back in and open an I period, and it comes back down to the value area low and comes back in. Well, what's the volume looking like in I period? I gotta split this off to know. Pretty heavy above the value area low. So this might have been a clue to maybe try along and risk that I low. I don't know. Again, it's hard to look back and say how you would trade it in that moment, what the action was like. Let's pull it back together. But the bottom line is now you got 80% to the upside. So let's just say you caught one of these 80% rules. What is the let's just say you got in. I always like to be generous. Let's say you got in 3 or 4 ticks inside of that, and you took it up, and you got out at, let's see here. I think you'd probably try for this. No, let's say the H low here. Let's just say the H, or the H open, I mean. All right here at this ledge of volume. Okay, 12 ticks. That's only 3 points. No, that's the stop. Sorry. That's the target is 37 ticks. Okay? So how much is that? I think it's almost 10 points. Let's see here. 9.25 points. 9.25 points. Heck, that's not even a bad day. That's a really good day. You know, have a day like that every single day, one trade, and you know, that's a nice week. And add it up, right? So there was obviously a lot more in there, and one could have reloaded on the top side, but you know, these are things I can't write every single imagination of what could happen here. But let's just say out of between the downside and the upside, you walked away with 8 points. Okay, if you stayed there all day like a good boy or girl and waited for these plans and were very patient on your entries. So get long and short against inflection points. Let's revisit this. Let's just look at a couple things here on the 10-minute chart. Okay. And here's our day. Now, this does not have the day and night divided, so letter A is where the day starts. These are 10 minutes. Okay. Here's what I mean about getting on board, like when you get a momentum. If you didn't get long against the value area low down here, here's the halfway mark of this B period. Once we clear the high of this B period, and then we get a new one, well, now we're one-time framing between A, B, and this B period, you know? So you want to think about, I mean, you may have a different way of getting long or whatever, and you may not get long till up here, but it doesn't matter if you just take little pieces of it, and so on. So I'm just going to look for where these opened or the highs or lows were right around an inflection point. Like, for example, this VPOC, the VPOC from yesterday, shorts could have been taken here without a lot of risk. Now, where you would have put your stop, I guess I would have set above the A high maybe. So those are possibilities. This C period, well, see, I don't like this because if I'm looking for a short up against something, I'm not going to put my entry way down here. And that may be why the market does this. They're I don't know. You know, I don't understand all the games that are played, but I do know a few of them and or recognize a few of them when they're happening. So let's see here. The C, well, it didn't quite make it to the halfway mark of this 10-minute period. And on a couple of videos earlier, I talked about how the halfway mark of a 10-minute bar, especially if it's a trending day, can help find an entry point. Doesn't mean it won't go through it a bit, but many times one of the beauties of it is you have something to risk against, and that would be the low of the candle or the 10-minute bar before it. And let's see here. Yeah, I don't like because these didn't come they didn't come exactly to these, but I'm sure that there were ways to. I mean, I did point out a couple of them, but find out ways to get short against on a smaller time frame, maybe short against the value area low or whatnot. Here's a good one, prior low of day. But notice how they aren't coming to a tick or on there. I have a trading friend who always will put their entry on the line, on the level, very exact, and waiting for a limit to get filled. Now that works out great when you get a run through, but what about when you don't? Well, I'm not one who wants to be FOMO in and try to make sure I get filled, so I'm putting my order in, a couple ticks away from a line, because a lot of days it blows right through it by a point or two before it comes back, and those are more conservative entries. All right, I'm kind of waxing long here. I just want to come back here, and again, let's do this. Let's just make it easy. Let's say you lost 2 points trying to get short. Okay, well, I just try to be fair here. Let's say you lost 2 points. All right, so now you've got 27 plus 8, so you got 35 points potential today. I didn't make 35 points today, but I could have possibly had I been patient, And on any one of these, maybe you made more, but you had a loser or two, and you still end up netted 8, netted 20. Let's say just even 20, Anyway, I'm just speculating here. These were good plans. These were actionable, tradable plans, and I didn't capture it, but I'll live to see another day, by the grace of God. All right, make a great evening. Thank you very much for your time, and if you've gotten anything out of this video, please hit like. Don't just be passive. I don't see who likes it, but it does help me know that somebody's watching. That's nice. And watch my videos in 1.25 speed. Don't spend extra time. You get dialed in to understand it, and I just would rather people not feel like they're just trying to get through, especially when I talk a little too much about, I get on a rabbit trail about something or I have some technical thing, just jag it up a notch. All right. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Bye.